Welcome, everybody, to the Chinchilla Pickin' Podcast. It is June the 1st, 2025 at 4:02 p.m. As always, we hope to be entertaining, educational, and uplifting because we want everyone to make money. My name is David Underwood, and I'm joined by the one and only, the Babylon Brandon Beaver. Brandon, what's going
Babylon
on?
Brandon Beaver, that's me now. No, I am the Rambo of capitalism.
No, you're the Baron of
No,
Bonds.
I'm the Rambo of capitalism. I'm the
You don't
defender.
get to pick it. You don't get to pick a nickname. A nickname is given to you. You don't get to pick it.
It was given to me by other people.
No, it wasn't. No
It
one gave
was.
you that nickname.
Yeah, they did.
Nobody
Yeah,
gave you
you
that
just
nickname.
you don't know them.
Uh, well, anyways, so I want to correct a couple things. I listened to the shows while I was off. I want to get on the record here and correct a couple things. I did not spend 2 weeks in the Badlands, even though that wouldn't be bad. I would enjoy it. I was all over the West, Jackson, Wyoming, Colorado, all over the
You
mountains,
were in
mountains
the
everywhere.
Badlands for a little bit, right?
A few days. I spent a few days in that area. I was in Black Hills and Badlands, both hanging out, doing stuff, hiking. Yes. Also, Netherlands and Denmark are two separate countries. I've been to the Netherlands. Do not say they are the same country. That is awful. I heard
When did
that,
I
and
say
I
that? Who
you
said
you
that?
did you did go play back. You did.
Did I really?
Yes, that's two separate countries. They are
I've been to
not the same country.
Amsterdam.
How dare you?
I've been to Amsterdam. I've been there. What country is that in? That's in the Netherlands, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
How could you not know?
It was, I mean, that whole 2 week Euro trip, a lot of it was a big blur.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Mostly
All right.
because I was in Amsterdam.
There you go. There you go. Yes, the things we do when we're younger, right?
Yeah.
Um,
It was last, no, I'm just kidding. It wasn't last week.
yeah, so I mean it's all good times. There's a lot of things that have happened recently, I would say. This past week, news has come out always, every single week.
Hold on. I want to
Well,
ask you this question, though.
yeah.
So you were in the Badlands for a little bit. Then
Yes.
you went to Colorado
Now went to Wyoming.
or Wyoming, but you were in Colorado for a minute, right?
Yes.
Red Rocks. Did you
Yes.
drive there?
To
How
Red
did you get
Rock?
there?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So you didn't like hike all three of those states.
No, no. I
Okay.
drove from state to state and I was hiking all around. I was in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. Beautiful place if you've never been. The Grand Tetons are amazing. Um, yeah, and
Hilarious names.
the river. I was rafting on the river, Snake River there. Did a lot of hiking. It was fun. It was a good time. Hung out in downtown Jackson Hole. That's a
Yeah.
great tourist spot if you haven't been. But then I went to Colorado Springs, Manitou specifically. Did the incline, Pikes Peak. Did some hiking and picked up a concert at Red Rocks while I was in Colorado. So
So yeah, when on Meta's AI, like on the headset and stuff, going into the live VR concerts, there's a concert series that says live at Red Rocks.
yeah,
I wonder if it's the same place.
yes.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, they were streaming the concert I was at. They streamed those concerts all the time.
That's cool.
So you
That's
could
pretty
have
awesome.
streamed it and maybe looked out for me. I don't know.
Yeah.
There was a lot of skunks around. It's Colorado, open air amphitheater, a lot of skunks everywhere.
Really? Are you sure that was skunk? It's legal over there.
It is legal. I was waiting. I was like, did he not catch that reference? Yes, it is legal over there, but they do. What's funny is like I knew it was legal over there. I don't smoke, right? I don't drink. I don't partake in anything. I am 100% sober. But I understand it's legal. It's the law. Whatever. You do your
Right.
thing. You have your fun, right? I'm
Yeah.
not against that if that's the law. They do have signs up asking people to smoke on the sides of the amphitheater, not actually in the stands, but people don't care. They just do it wherever.
Okay.
Which
Cool.
is kind of rude
Yeah,
because like
it is.
you remember like 10, 15 years ago, if someone was smoking a cigarette in the stands, people would get angry with
Yeah.
them, be like, "What are you
Yeah.
doing? Go to the sides. That's the smoking area over there."
Yeah.
But they
I,
don't feel the same way about marijuana, they're like, oh no, that's okay to smoke right there around the little kids, but not the cigarettes.
Right, let them get a contact high, whatever. Yeah, I was standing outside on a smoke break at work like a year ago, and some 18-year-old, 19-year-old kid walking by had a blunt in his hand and asked me for a light, and he lit up his blunt right there on the street and then just kept walking. I was like, what world are we in now? This is a brave new world, Dave.
No, it's legal, but it'd be the
It is.
same. That's akin to just drinking a 40 as you're walking down the street, which a lot of
Right.
people do that still. A lot of people, mainly homeless or, will drink in the middle of the street.
Yeah.
That's their thing. It's what I don't know. We're not here to talk about things that plague society like that. We're here to talk about things that plague the society as income. How people make money? How do people make money, Brandon? How do you make people money?
I don't. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, you go to work, or you
I
invest for them, or
well,
you
you
help
got to
them
get
invest.
you got to get some capital coming in first, right?
Right.
Because you need capital to make more capital. So you got to get some capital coming in. Most typical response is a job of some sort. And then you either need to either cut your output so you have more coming in than you have out, or you need to grow your input.
Sure.
It's one of those two. And usually a combination of the both is the best way to do it.
Yeah.
Growing your input and cutting your output as best as possible. Living below your means, which is something that a lot of Americans struggle with. A lot of Americans struggle with living below your means because I have let's just say, because I don't like math, $1,000 a month coming in. They want to spend $1,000 a month rather than spending 900 and saving 100. You know what I mean?
Sure.
It's the American way. Apparently, it's just spend, 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 max amount I could spend, max out that credit card, claim bankruptcy, and get new credit cards, and it's just ridiculous,
Yeah.
ridiculous. Anyways, I wanted to talk about stocks. I wanted to talk about a lot of things that have happened. We're not going to get into it, so I'm just going to spend 30 seconds here highlighting some things that happened this past week. Japan still hasn't come to a deal with the U.S. on trade, even though the Japan Prime Minister says he wants to meet with Trump before the G7 summit coming up. You have the Trump's talking at the steel plant and then announcing he's going to up the steel tariffs on Europe, and now Europe's like, okay, now you're going back on the deal we just agreed to. What's going on with that? So now that's in jeopardy, even though that's good for the Nippon deal, but stipulations with that. So now there's questions about how good is this deal going to be. These are things we're not going to talk about on the show, but I want to bring up like these are things I pay attention to because I read the articles when they come out and I try to listen to the stories. Brandon, you have something to say?
Yeah, so I mean, just on Friday, the courts that came out and tried to say that Trump's reciprocal tariffs are unconstitutional the way that it went about. And honestly, I that's the way that I was thinking going into this too. I didn't think that all this stuff was going to happen, but I mean, it's a two-edged sword for me because I'm against the tariffs in the first place. But at the same time, now we've just thrown a wrench into the negotiations, and everything's probably going to get drug out a lot longer than what it was. And I wonder how these new tariffs on steel are, factored into that court's equation and if those are going to be rejected. But now I also wonder if we have to lower our tariffs because this court is deciding that we have to do it. Are all these other countries then going to follow suit and lower their tariffs again too? Probably not
No,
at that point.
that court
So
was overruled like
it
over the
wasn't
weekend.
overruled. It wasn't
Yes.
overruled. No, it was paused. So we still have the tariffs while the administration comes back and appeals it. So we're waiting on an appeals decision.
So the articles I was seeing was that Trump and the current administration got the go ahead on their tariffs and that there's no um what's the word I'm looking for? A juncture or any kind
Yeah.
of legal thing that can be done to stop them.
Okay. Well, my information was all as of Friday, so maybe something new has came out since then. At
That's
least
what
you.
I saw today when I was doing
Okay.
some final research for the show. I read through two different articles that were covering that.
Okay.
So maybe they're not related because there's lots of different lawsuits that have
Yeah.
happened. So you don't know which lawsuit we're talking about here. That's a crazy thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, lots of things like that that have happened this past week, but actual fundamental news, not a whole lot, except for one of the things I'm going to get into. Two of the things I'm going to get into actually have good fundamental news, and I believe the things you're going to get into have good fundamental news. So we have the fundamentals. The macro events are what they are.
Yeah.
You know, how about we get into it? You want
No,
to get
let's
into
do
this?
it. Yeah,
Let's
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 get
do
into
it.
it.
Let's do
You
it.
want to
And
say let's get into it another 10 more times before we actually get into it?
let's get into it. Before we get into it, I
Let's
want to
get
get
into it.
into this. I
All
want to
right,
say
cool.
one thing. When I was in Jackson Hole, I saw a big hodgepodge of so many different people. Lots of tourists from Asia, from Japan, China, Eastern European, all kinds of different tourists there. Lots of well-off ranchers and Western type individuals, locals, true cowboy locals,
Okay.
and then people who come in just to work the restaurants. Now, it's not a big town. It's only a town of 10,000 people, and they probably have 5 to 10,000 visitors at one time especially during the summer. So it's very, very just a tourist town. That's all it is. There are people who drive an hour and a half to 2 hours in every day and back out just to work because there's no housing available inside the town.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's a tourist tour. It was strange because I could be next to a diplomat from an Eastern European country, and then next to a gentleman owns a ranch, and then also at the very next bench over next to tourists from Tokyo. So very very
Interesting.
hodgepodge of people.
Yeah.
All right, rules. Brandon and I get together 5 to 10 minutes before the show, and we tell each other what we're going to talk about. Here to live back and forth, the bicker and the banter right here on the show for you. All right, I'm going to get to go first because I've been off the last 2 weeks, and so that's just what we're going to do. Brandon's kind enough to allow me to do this. Thank you, Brandon.
Yeah, you're welcome.
What I'm going to get into is two articles, but I mean, not two articles, one article, and then it's going to talk about two different stocks and two different companies here. And I want to mention kind of like, you'll see where I'm going with it, Brandon. You'll have maybe some thoughts on it, maybe not. It's a company I've traded before and I made a lot of money, a huge return. I made over 35% return on it the first time. Then I lost money the second time, a little over almost 15% loss the second time. But I put a lot less capital in the second time because I wasn't 100% sold like I did the first time. I probably put about, I would say, 10 to 20% of what I put in the first time. So I was that much less involved in it. But let's talk about the first article, which isn't directly to do with that, but it indirectly is. First article is here's the headline. It reads Hims is to cut 4% of workforce amid ban on weight loss drug copies. This came out yesterday, Saturday, 5/31/2025 at 2:30 p.m. on the Reuters Newswires. I've covered this before on this show. We talked about how the ban on these weight loss drug copies or compounding, as it was mentioned, was going to take place, and that it was going to hurt the Hims and Hers company, and it was going to be a boon or a tailwind to Novo Nordisk. That was one of the reasons I bought into Novo Nordisk. It got delayed, and then it got delayed, and then it got delayed unending delay, right? Seemed like it was never going to happen. Actually, finally took effect on May 22nd. Since it took effect, Hims his shares have since dropped 14%. The company confirmed on Friday that they're going to cut 4% of the workforce just because of the FDA saying they can no longer sell these drugs on their website.
Wow.
Here's what Hims had to say. These changes are focused on sharpening how we execute without affecting our priorities or the specialties that we are committed to. The company recently announced an agreement with Novo to help patients access brand name Wegovy. It plans to enter the market for low testosterone menopause treatments and is looking at offerings to improve longevity and sleep. So it's trying to branch out into other areas. Well, how big of an impact was this on them, right? So Hims began offering copies of Wegovy in 2024 at often far lower prices than the brand name version. That boosted subscriptions to the Hims telehealth platform. Revenue was up 111% on a yearly basis during the first
Wow.
quarter of 2025. Wegovy copies and similar GLP-1 weight loss drugs accounted for 200 million of the company's 1.5 billion revenue. So that's about what 15% of the total revenue for the whole company was just because of these drugs. The FDA has now said they can no longer sell them on them. I mentioned before that Hims and other companies wanted to go along the personalization strategy, saying that they need to personalize these drugs for individuals for a medical need. FDA is saying nope. Novo Nordisk and Eli Lilly can do that. No go. None of you guys can sell these drugs anymore as of May the 22nd, 2025. In the United States, they no longer can be sold. That's a huge cut to some of these companies, such as Hims. First response, Brandon.
Yeah, it's also a huge signal to Novo Nordisk that they can raise the price without any additional competition.
Well, their competition's Eli Lilly and Majorno.
I know, but I mean, still, like the low cost competition was probably coming from Hims.
And other companies like Hims, but
Yeah.
yes, Hims was the biggest one, biggest name in
So
the.
we just created a duopoly in the system for this. And we
Well,
do it with drugs all the time.
you have the right when you create a drug to hold the patent for so many years before generic can be made.
Right. I
That's
agree.
the
Yeah.
law.
Yeah.
That's the law. And so they have the right to do that. The only reason why these companies were allowed to do it is because there was such a short supply of it that there wasn't enough supply to fulfill the needs of the citizens of the country. So the FDA allowed temporarily for these companies to sell these.
Gotcha.
But now they have got their manufacturing plants up and running, distribution systems ready to go, and now boom, it's running. And just so you know, Brandon, right here in the Cincinnati area, they opened a manufacturing plant just 1 year ago, and all they do 24/7 is manufacture Mongerno or for Eli
Okay.
Lilly.
Okay.
So right here in Cincinnati, Ohio, you have quite a lot of jobs that are dependent upon manufacturing that as the brand name for these companies.
Okay.
American
At?
jobs.
Where's it at? Do you know? In
Huh?
Cincinnati? You have any idea where that's at?
It's in
Cincinnati.
Westchester.
Okay.
But so I say this, right? That seems like it'd be a good time to buy Novo Nordisk. Well, yeah, the stock
Mhm.
jumped up on this news. However, that is not the only good news for Novo Nordisk and Eli Lilly, specifically, actually, for Novo Nordisk, not Eli Lilly. Let me rephrase that. So, about 6 months ago, I covered Walgreens and PBMs and how this pharmaceutical industry works, right?
Right.
You have these pharmaceutical like CVS and Walgreens and Kroger and Walmart, and they have a PBM. A PBM is the in between the middleman, if you will. And what they do is they make the agreements with the pharmaceutical companies. So Walgreens has a PBM they work through that pulls out the agreements of how much they can pay for, Wegovy or Mounjaro or something like that, right?
Hmm.
And that's how these things are done, and not regular. That's how these things are done in order to hold the sales and distribution. Well, CVS has its own PBM, so it saves CVS money. CVS is making money every step of the way up to all the way up until manufacturing. As soon as it's manufactured and leaves the manufacturer, CVS has a hand in it right away, and that's why CVS is doing very well. Well, CVS PBM has now said that they are no longer going to approve the Novo Nordisk, not Novo Nordisk, the Eli Lilly drugs for weight loss, which is Zepbound and Wegovy and Mounjaro. Zepbound and Mounjaro, um, they're no longer going to approve them for their prescription coverage or to be sold through CVS. Now, there's always exceptions, right? Because it's medical field. You got it, the medical reason someone's already been on, the Zepbound or the Mounjaro for a while and they can't switch, and or it's not the right drug, and yada yada yada. There's always exceptions medically for this, and where CVS will go ahead and say, okay, you could continue on it. We'll cover the prescription. But for the majority of people who are taking Mounjaro, Zepbound, and use CVS, they now have to switch to the Novo Nordisk Wegovy drugs, and that's a big boon also for Novo Nordisk, and that happened. They announced that on May 1st, and it's going to take effect on July 1st. July 1st of this year, CVS is going to make that switch in their system.
When does Novo Nordisk's patent expire on this?
I don't know that off top, man. You would think
And,
with as much coverage as I've
yeah.
done on this drug and this company, you think I would know that, but
And
I don't.
because my question is, I wonder if they paused the patent time while they were allowing Hims to sell this drug, or if that time frame kept moving along. I would think if we're being fair and we're allowing other companies to sell your drug that you created, that we're going to pause the patent time until we reverse that order again. That's what I would think.
I mean, yeah, you would think that. Don't know. Maybe they did. Maybe they worked out that deal. The only thing I could tell you, Brandon, is if you're looking at Novo Nordisk as a possible buy, it's already jumped up over 15% since all this news has come out. So I'm kind of giving everybody who's listening this news after it's already gapped up a little. It doesn't mean it's not going to continue gapping up. It's just that I've been burned on Novo Nordisk already, and it's already gapped up. I'm staying out of it because I'm not 100% confident myself that it's going to continue, even though it does have a lot of tailwinds behind it. It
Okay.
does. I will
Yeah.
admit that. It's just that burn for Novo Nordisk from earlier in the year where they kept delaying everything just is not sitting right with me. And so that's why I'm not buying back in. However, it does look like it could go back up to about $90 a share. Would be a good price target. I would say it's currently at 71. Its low right before all this news was starting to get announced was 57 for the low.
Okay.
So that's kind of the range it was in. Its peak was right around 140 was the peak of this when it was the biggest. It was going out everywhere. Ozempic, Ozempic, Ozempic. Everybody was doing Ozempic. They were throwing concerts in Denmark because of it. Yada yada yada. That was 140.
Who are all these people that waited until after the patent was put back into place to sell hymns? You knew this was coming. Why would you wait until that point to the extent that this drops 14% in very quick succession? Why did you even hold it in the first place? I don't understand that. But then if you're going to buy it because they're selling this weight loss drug and then sell it, you should have sold it before they had to stop.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think maybe they were hoping that it wouldn't happen, but the thing that really just set in stone was him coming out saying we're cutting 4% of our workforce was just like,
Yeah.
hey,
Yeah.
automatically, right? Within weeks of the announcement, they're
Yeah.
already cutting 4%. That's a big number. They're probably going to cut more.
Yeah.
It's going to
That's
be
just
hard to
it's
pull in the
hard.
revenue in order to come up with new projects. You're going to have to take out some loans now to grow
Yeah.
the company.
What they're going to have to do is they're going to cut 4% of the workforce, restructure, and then see who else they don't need. And then the
Yeah.
cuts will come after that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So there's a quick look into that sector of the economy. I'll let you guys do what you want to do with that news. I'm not buying either one, but I wanted to share that information to kind of let everybody know what was going on with those weight loss drugs and what's happening in that sector. The next thing I want to talk about is something that I know Nick mentioned briefly and you guys talked about for a minute. I know I'm more of the crypto person in our group of,
Yeah.
stock traders, I guess, that I'm more of the guy, the go-to crypto. Well, actually, Mark, I would say, is our crypto guy. He really does his research on these cryptos a lot more than I do. But between him and I, you could usually get a good picture of a cryptocurrency. If you ask both of us at the same time on a thread, you're going to get lots of responses back. We'll probably start arguing
Yeah.
about it. But let's talk about crypto. I want to cover a certain aspect of this, right?
Sure.
So CNBC, lots of articles were about this whole Bitcoin buying strategy that a lot of corporations are utilizing right now. What is it, right? Saylor is a gentleman that has gone out, and he is part. Michael Saylor is MicroStrategy, right? MicroStrategy. We've all heard of MicroStrategy. The company moves up and down with Bitcoin, but they've done extremely well. As if you own the stock before they started buying Bitcoin and versus what it is now, you are very, very well off. Congratulations, you made a lot of money, right? This
Mm.
has worked well for MicroStrategy. Michael Saylor, however, has said that this is a good strategy for companies to do. It's considered a treasury play. So they're using Bitcoin like you would like a corporation would if they bought a treasury to keep cash reserves on hand
Ugh.
and to have some kind of
Mm.
investment fund that you can pull from if
No.
needed. And
No.
so, hold on, Brand, before you say no, let's look at the numbers, shall we?
Yeah,
Before
for
you start,
now.
let's
Okay.
look at the numbers and let's talk about going forward because you and I are going to disagree. We could talk about going forward once we look at where we've been, how we got to where we're at, and then when we go forward, we can disagree. Okay? Because you
Sure.
can't argue about where we've been. Those are set in stone. Those are numbers.
Yeah.
All right. So the Bitcoin Treasury play lifted MicroStrategy's market cap past 80 billion, is now being mimicked by other stock companies. Trump Media, GameStop, company I
Oh
own,
yeah, great
Cooler,
companies.
right? The company I
Wow.
know, company I own, Cooler, has also adopted this. Uh, Texas, the state of Texas, the United States, a lot of countries are doing this.
Well,
They're
no, no. I mean, the U.S. is buying up Bitcoin, but they're not doing it as a treasury reserve. I mean, it is a reserve.
So it is a Treasury Reserve. Thank you.
Yeah, I
All right.
guess.
So it is a Treasury Reserve. Thank you for admitting that. Now, MicroStrategy has done this and it's multiplied it multiple times since the end of 2022. They've amassed a Bitcoin stake that's worth over $60 billion. So they have
Yeah.
$60 billion worth of Bitcoin.
No.
So that company is very well solvent. It's like having a company that is involved in selling, I don't know, cogs, but they have $60 billion in cash if they need to keep the company afloat. That company's solid. You're going to buy stock because they're continuing to be profitable in their cogs, but they also have a lot of cash on hand.
Until Bitcoin crashes, if it does, again,
Well,
which it
I
does from
said
time to time.
we'll talk about going forward in a little bit. So this is the strategy, and this is what a lot of these companies are doing. A lot of these countries are doing it. A lot of states are doing it. The U.S. Strategic Bitcoin Reserve. This is what I was just talking about. The reserve will be funded entirely through Bitcoin seized in criminal and civil forfeiture cases. And also, they're also going to do budget neutral mechanisms for acquiring Bitcoin. So the U.S. is going to start slowly acquiring this for the first time, right? The federal government will conduct a full audit of its digital asset holdings, currently estimated at more than 200,000 Bitcoin. I don't know how they got that number. I'm kind of wary on that number, whether that's true or not, but whatever. Um, Basically, Michael Saylor says that they're going to keep buying Bitcoin. We expect the price of Bitcoin will continue to keep going up. We think it will get exponentially harder to buy Bitcoin, but we will work exponentially more efficiently to buy Bitcoin. What someone said here in anti this says the network is very anti-fragile. There's a balance of power here. The more actors that come into the ecosystem, the more diverse, the more distributed the protocol is, the more incorruptible it becomes, the more robust it becomes. And so that means the more trustworthy it becomes to larger economic actors
No.
who otherwise would be afraid to put all their economic weight on the network.
It
Brandon,
doesn't.
I feel like you have a lot to say. Go ahead.
Yes. So here's a secret that is probably the U.S. government won't like me to tell you, but it's 100% most. I shouldn't say 100%. It's most likely true. I don't think the US government or these other countries are buying Bitcoin for an investment so much. I think they're buying it for power and so that they can control the price of Bitcoin because they see Bitcoin as an asset. And by the way, I'm not against Bitcoin, but they're seeing it as an asset that's starting to look a little bit like gold used to, and it's compared to the US dollar, right? So if Bitcoin starts to increase in value in ways that people want to move away from the US dollar or in ways that it threatens the US dollar as the global reserve, what's the US government going to do? Sell a crap load of Bitcoin and drive the price back down. That's what they did with gold in the 30s and in the 20s and prior. And when we were on the gold standard, they used to do this all the time. They'd buy it and they'd sell it in order to influence the price of gold. They even passed legislation at one point and said that if you're an individual person, you can't buy new gold. That's illegal. They did that in the 30s under FDR. So that's what these governments are trying to do. In my opinion, it's more about control of something that they see could threaten their power if they don't have a place at the table. And if their place at the table is not oversized compared to everybody else's. That's how I see them investing in Bitcoin and the reason why I see them doing it. That's why I think they're doing it. The other thing is these companies like GameStop that are using Bitcoin
GameStop's a
as
horrible example, but
a
yeah, go ahead.
treasury. Yes, but it says a treasury reserve. So real companies that are good use Bitcoin as a as an investment that is speculative. Because even though Bitcoin being around, we all know it's going to exist. We all know it'll be here for quite a long time. The price is still speculative. If you're going to go in and buy a US Treasury, you're doing it for safety, capital preservation, something that's just going to be inflation over time, but you know it's still going to exist. Throwing all your money into Bitcoin reserves is highly speculative and very problematic, in my opinion.
I don't think it's highly speculative. I believe
It,
Bitcoin is going to continue going up for the extended future.
okay, so if we look at where it was a year ago, I don't even know what the percentage was, right? What's
Okay.
the percentage gain that Bitcoin has had in the past year?
Past 12 months,
Have a look. Yeah,
I'm gonna off the top of my head, I'm gonna run 70%,
I want to look. And that's
70, 80.
speculative, by the way, for an
Is
asset
it?
like
What's
this.
Nvidia?
It's 55.97%.
What's Nvidia? 60%
Nvidia has a
Nvidia?
balance sheet to back it up.
What's Nvidia? I'm just saying, you want to say it's speculative because of the percentage. I could give you example of the example
But how do you value Bitcoin?
based
It's
on what someone's willing to pay for it.
right, which is how you
Same
value
as the US
essentially
dollar.
everything,
Same as
right?
US dollar.
Same as the
Same as
US
a
dollar. I agree with that.
yuan.
But
Same as
but
the
what
yen. Same as the
but,
pound.
but what somebody is willing to pay for Bitcoin changes on a daily basis. I want to give you an example. From January to April of this year, Bitcoin dropped 20%. So if
Yep.
you got all your money in reserved going into Bitcoin, your first quarter's operating profit not going to look so good. Not year over year or quarter over quarter even. I don't like it.
You don't like it, but long term it's going to be higher, right?
We
So
don't
here,
know that.
yeah, you do.
No. Why?
Yes, yes. It's almost locked in that it's going to be higher.
I don't think it is.
It
Why?
is.
But what's your reasoning?
All right. Thank
So I
you. Are you
know.
going to allow me? Are you going to allow me to talk?
Yes, go
You
ahead.
can allow me to talk, please. Allow me to explain my reasoning. You have a set amount of bitcoins that are available out there,
Right?
total, right? That's it. No more. Can't print anymore. Just like if you could print more dollars, you can't print more bitcoins. So as they buy, everybody starts buying. The price is going to continue going higher. Someone asked me theoretically. They said theoretically, Dave, what happens if everybody bought up all the bitcoins? I said the price would just continue to go up till it reaches a point that someone's willing to sell, and that there's always that point. There's always something, a price that somebody's saying, okay, I've made enough money, let me sell. Now, when you say that, that means the price will always go higher over time because everybody wants to buy and hold.
If
And
if
eventually it's going to reach a point where someone wants to sell, then it sells and it takes a dip, a 20% drop back down. But then it slowly goes back up again and goes even higher every single time. This is a cycle with Bitcoin. Happens over and over and over and over again.
if
And it's
demand stays the
consistent.
same, but demand has to stay the same for it.
Demand is going to
Demand drops
continue to go
off.
higher.
If
Demand's
demand,
not going to drop off. It's
you
it's
might
it's
be right,
not.
but I don't. But I mean, if
I
you,
am right.
I
I'm
feel
willing to
like
bet I'm right. In fact, I own Bitcoin because I believe I'm right.
I feel like we're a bit in a fervor over Bitcoin, and if that
Not.
falls back, or if one of these governments starts selling off all their assets,
Germany did it like a couple years ago. We covered on this show. They sold a couple thousand Bitcoins all at once, caused the the price to drop in the course of 1 week.
okay,
You know what happened? It went from like 60,000 down to 45,000. Guess where
and
it's
then
at right
people
now?
bought it back up.
110.
Yeah,
It
I
was
get
it
that.
went up to 110.
Yeah, yeah.
So over time, long term, it doesn't matter if a country sells 2,000 coins in 1 day. It doesn't matter in the long term.
We're gonna get to the point at some time with Bitcoin where it does stabilize. And where instead of seeing these insane gains of 55, 60% or even 100% in 1 year, you're starting to get to 10 to 15% in a year. If this continues to be a asset that everybody likes to see, it's not going to continue to go up 100% year after year after year after year forever. That's not going to happen.
Why not?
We don't have that much money in the world for it to happen forever.
Yeah, it's true. Forever, yes. But here's my point. My point is that everybody's in a rush to own some Bitcoin right now. The companies are, corporations, right? You have
Yeah.
individuals who own Bitcoin like myself.
Yeah.
I've owned them for years. I've talked about on this show. I've owned them for years and I'm holding. I've held. I just held. I own them. I'm not selling them.
Okay.
There is going to be a point where it reaches a point where I will hit a sell price. It'll probably be seven figures.
I don't think you should sell right now either. I just don't like the idea of these companies throwing, their money in instead of holding it in treasuries, they hold
So
it in
let me. I asked
debt.
AI, what is the Bitcoin treasury? You know what it said here?
What?
This is AI's answer because you like quoting AI, so I wanted to go with AI for you.
But are you using Gemini or Copilot or what are you using here?
Gemini.
Okay.
So, Gemini AI, a Bitcoin treasury strategy involves a company allocating a portion of its reserves to Bitcoin, primarily to hedge against inflation and diversify its assets. Companies adopt this strategy to mitigate financial risk, reduce reliance on traditional financial institutions, and potentially benefit from Bitcoin's potential for long term growth.
You could hedge against inflation with a treasury right now and get four and
But
a half
it gives
percent
you
on it.
5% a year, and you were saying right now we're getting 50% a year in Bitcoin. So why would you?
Well, that's a trailing 12 months. That doesn't necessarily mean that the next 12 months is going to copy that, and you're taking a risk. Where treasury right now,
You
yeah,
take
we
a
got
risk at Treasury. There's a risk.
it's small. Yeah, we got downgraded from the top rank down to the second top rank
3 years
from
ago, there was somebody on the show saying bonds are dead
yeah,
because the
but
Treasury percentages were just
yeah,
ridiculous.
because they were terrible. They were like a percent.
So there's a risk.
Not if you buy the treasury now that you lock that percentage in. And you could, and a lot of people are looking at the bond market right now and saying there's extra risk priced into it, but that's only if you're a bond trader. With 2.1% inflation, you're getting 5% on a treasury or 4.5% or whatever you're going to wind up getting for it.
Anyways, I like this
Hold it there.
strategy for a lot of companies. I'm for it.
I will say, Big GameStop. I looked at their balance sheet the other day. While they still have like way too much debt, it's getting better, and their
There
balance
you
sheet's
go.
getting. Now the odd thing is I heard a rumor too that they're going away from games, and that they're looking at possibly becoming a sports card store and collectible store,
Yeah, a collectible store is what I heard.
even more cyclical than anything else they've been into.
Yeah.
I know people that own stores and they do very, very well, but that's a very cyclical business.
Well, that's why they wanted to go in all kinds of collectibles, gaming collectibles, memorabilia, that kind of things.
Yeah.
And it's a good approach for them. They got to change it up because nobody's, doing console games. Everybody's just buying digital
And it's going
games.
to get even more digital over
Yeah.
time. People, because I used to be one of those guys that would buy those physical games, and now I just do digital because you get to keep the games, first of all. I mean, you don't get to take them to your buddy's house and play them unless
Yeah.
you log on to your account. But guess what? They don't scratch.
Yeah.
They don't scratch.
Exactly.
You have them for
Yeah.
years. So,
Anyways, so because of this, I love Cooler. I believe Cooler is going to have a positive. It's a company I own. Cooler, we talked about on the show, KULR, ticker symbol. They're going to have a positive earnings report for the first time next quarter. And it's because this last quarter they had to do a write down for buying some Bitcoin and for some financing. But it was one time write downs. They're
sure.
going to have a huge positive return on next quarter results. You're going to wish you own Cooler now at this price versus next quarter. And then I'm not buying Nova Nordis, but it's good news for that company. They are going to continue to move higher probably, but I don't know. I hold grudges against stocks. I don't know why.
Yeah. But speaking, I mean, you heard on the show I bought Bitcoin, or not Bitcoin, but Boeing.
Yeah, I did. I
I,
heard that.
I let go of my
And they
grudge.
had good news too over the past week. So they've had good news as well. A lot of companies are, there's an India, the biggest airline in India is saying they're expanding their fleet and they're looking at Boeing.
Yeah.
Brandon, go ahead. What do you have?
They're going to
Nvidia?
emerge out of this, I think, a lot more leaner company. And then once they go profitable, which is supposedly that's their goal is fiscal or the first quarter of fiscal year 2026. I really think that this is no pun intended, and I think it's going to take off. As
Ooh,
long as
no
they don't
pun
screw it,
intended.
as long as they don't screw it up, Dave.
That would have been better if he said pun intended.
Okay, pun intended. Oh, well, but here's another company here that I think that you should own right now, and don't don't turn away because it's went up so high in the past 5 years. But if you really look at Nvidia, Dave, it's almost been trading in the same,
Has it had over a 50% return this past 12 months?
not the past 12 months, no. It has not actually. It's been trading. I mean, I think it's been 20% over the past 12 months, but it's been trading around the same range for about a year because once it went so far up and went crazy, and people just started, evaluating the valuation of the stock. And I think that people were taking a break on it,
It is
letting it catch up a
20%.
little bit.
Yes,
Yeah,
20% over the last
letting it
12
catch
months.
up
But
a
to go
bit.
back 5 years is 1400%.
Yeah, so a lot, right? So I mean, it's a big jump there, but warranted. It is absolutely warranted. And me and you, both of us missed this 2 years ago, but I think I've kind of learned my lesson a little bit here. We didn't look at the total addressable market of Nvidia, which is essentially everybody now. I mean, it's not just tech, it's healthcare, it's automotives, it's everywhere, right? So the earnings report last week came out and there were a lot of eyes on it. Didn't really move much. I kind of predicted that last week on the show that we were going to get kind of a flat movement out of it. But revenue was $44.1 billion dollars. That's 69% increase year over year. Still going despite the China challenge. 69% year over year increase. Now earnings per share 93 cents. That beat us. I'm sorry, it was 96 cents. That beat the estimates of 93 cents. That's excluding the significant charge related to, I think it was a $4.5 billion charge relating to the China tariffs on the H20 chip. And then it cost them another $2.5 billion of revenue. So they took about a $7 billion hit of not being able to ship those H20 chips over to China and having to, clock them in at slower speeds and sell them cheaper. Um, Cost them $7 billion. But if you look at the earnings per share, and here's where I want to get into the valuation here, it's about a 27% increase year over year. Um, Price to earnings ratio, we're looking at around like 43, I think it was. So if you look at it that way, you say, okay, trailing 12-month price to earning ratio plus the trailing 12-month earnings per share growth that we're looking at. It looks to be fairly valued. However, Dave, and you might hate this, but I'm going to do it anyways. Factoring in buybacks. If you factor in buybacks and you take the earnings per share growth at the same time, the cumulative earnings per share growth on this year over year, the earnings attributed to each share grew by 83%.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's good. And you may say, well, that's financial engineering. Fine, it is, whatever.
A
But
lot of companies do financial engineering. Berkshire Hathaway does financial engineering.
right, right. And you can't be pro Bitcoin halving events and then against this. You're still, I'm serious. It's still the same thing. Like you're lowering the amount of available shares out there. So the more valuable the shares become.
Right?
So, yeah. So looking at the earnings here, the $4.5 billion
So you
charged
see
back.
a long-term value in that when you lower the amount of availability of something, but demand continues to slowly move up. You see that there's a value and that is consistently going to go up.
Right. And now all of a sudden the price to earnings ratio of 43 does not look so high anymore when you see what's happened to the earnings per share.
Gotcha.
Um, Data center revenue was huge. It was in the 70% growth ratio. Gaming was $3.8 billion. That was up 42% year over year. Automotive and robotics up 72% year over year. They spent $14.1 billion on share repurchases, which I like as a shareholder. They're still unchallenged. Here's kind of a weird estimation, and this depends on where you look. When analysts are looking at Nvidia market share for AI accelerators, GPUs, that's what you use for artificial intelligence and all this AI learning and stuff like that. Depending on where you look, the market share for Nvidia is either 70% or all the way up to 95%. So it seems like nobody really knows right now what their market share is, but we do know that it's very close to being a monopoly and that they own most of the market on this. And this is going to continue, by the way. Dave, me and you were worrying about the pricing for an Nvidia chip and all of that stuff, and how they've gone unchallenged on this, and a lot of people are looking for discounts and all that. But they've got a software called CUDA that has kind of trapped these customers. And I don't want to say trapped because actually these people say that they're working with NVIDIA has been really good for them. But it's sort of like Apple's ecosystem. So CUDA, it's a language model software, which is kind of like an instruction manual for people using their GPUs. It's a software layer that allows developers to kind of customize their own software and programs and cloud infrastructure and all of that stuff. And essentially, what they would have to do if they were to leave NVIDIA's chips, they would have to leave CUDA as well. And all of the innovation that they've made on those softwares, all the customization that's been done for their particular companies would be left behind too. It'd be a lot of cost for these companies to leave. And you want to know who these customers are that are using CUDA. It's big guys. It's like Google, it's Microsoft, it's um, Tesla, OpenAI uses it. Microsoft's Azure is based on CUDA. They use CUDA for it. Amazon's AWS is all on it. Oracle's on it. So I mean, we've got a lot of good recurring revenue here for Nvidia for years to come based on this.
I think
Um,
everybody agrees with you and is sold on it. I think everybody's 401k, mutual fund, something owns a part of NVIDIA.
yeah, it does. And
At this point, it's like Apple. Everybody's fund owns Apple's.
I, I mean, I ran a discounted cash flow model on this, and I came up with a 5-year price target of $688, and I think that's
Nice.
conservative. And we're at 135 right now, and I think that's the conservative side of things.
There you go.
So I mean, I don't know where we're going to go in the short term here. It seems like you see this consolidation happening when we start trading in these ranges. It's a big battle between the bulls and the bears trying to figure out where the price is going to go. And you might have some paper hands get tired of this and sell and have a drop where you get another good entry point here in the next 3 months. Who
I
knows?
mean, if it takes a 20% drop, that's okay because the long-term growth is there.
I agree 100%. It is absolutely
For
there.
Nvidia, you agree.
They
Gotcha.
are the center of the world right now in just about every industry.
Gotcha.
So
Cool. Got some excite. I mean,
I
I agree. 100%.
okay,
Nvidia
okay.
is good buy, solid buy, long-term play, good play. I agree. I got nothing more to add. I like every point you made.
Yeah, and they're still bringing out the Blackwell chips. They've got some more of their higher end Blackwell chips that have not been released yet. Some of them have, some of them haven't. The higher end GPU processing have not come out yet, but they're working on those. Still on track. They got delayed at the very beginning of the Blackwell program, but we're on track now. Um, yeah, I still like what I see, even minus China. And China's about 13% of the market.
There you
Which,
go.
so that's a chunk, but most of it is right here in the United States. 47% here in the United States, 20% is attributable to Singapore. But what they said on the conference call is they said, yeah, that says Singapore, but that's just people that bill in Singapore, and most of those customers are actually here in the United States too. So we probably have about 60% of Nvidia's customer base right here in the US.
There you go. Nice. Like it. All right, man. What else you got?
Palantir news.
What do you got in Palantir?
Did you see it jump about 8%? I
I
think
did.
middle of the week. Yeah.
Why was
So
that?
we got another major U.S. Army contract increase, significantly increasing the budget for Palantir's Maven Smart system. $795 million modification to an existing contract. That brings the contract to over $1.3 billion for the next 4 years. They got new deals with other federal agencies that were announced over the last week. The New York Times reported that Palantir is in negotiations with at least two major federal agencies, the Social Security Administration and the Fannie Mae Partnership for Fraud Detection. Palantir's also announced a collaboration with Fannie Mae to launch an AI powered crime detection unit. This could do something in like 30 seconds and detect crime in 30 seconds that would have taken investigators normally 3 to 6 months to uncover. So that's good. The Department of Health and Human Services announced an agreement in May. They selected Palantir for its 5 year solutions with holistic analytics, restructured for enterprise. I don't know what that
So
is, but
all these
$50
ones are
million.
because
dollars.
yeah, all these deals are signing with the government because the current administration is a big fan of Palantir, and they asked their heads or the cabinet members, if you will, to go ahead and make deals with Palantir, especially for information sharing across the different agencies. And it's been a big push. In fact, there was I believe, an executive order just done specifically for Palantir. So the current administration is a big fan of them, and that's where you're getting this push from and deals signed.
They also got a Space Force contract too, but I don't
Yeah.
have a price on that. Yeah, and this is all coming at the same time where the Trump administration is sending out letters to contractors telling them to justify the amount they're getting paid. And cuts are going everywhere else, but Palantir's getting these contracts. So
I mean, if the current administration is being honest, then that means that Palantir can actually live up to what they're saying and do what they're claiming. Um, and you would hope that would be the case.
did you ever see that link that I sent you with the demo of the Maven Smart?
Yes,
Any chance? Okay,
yes,
pretty cool.
it is pretty cool. So you got Palantir right.
Yep.
Good call. I like that you made that call a few weeks back, and you said that this is a buy. They're going to get more contracts, and look out for this one. 100%. They did. They're in favor with the current administration. They're just signing deals. They're inking deals right and left. So good call, Brandon.
Thank you.
Making us money, making us all money.
Yeah.
So, all right, let me get into a couple earnings this week and then some news for chinchilla picking, if you will.
Sure.
Earnings this week, Tuesday. We got Dollar General coming out before the bell. That's going to be one I'm looking at because on Wednesday you have Dollar Tree coming out before the bell. So we get to kind of compare the dollar stores as well. Also on Tuesday, it's a company that we both said was a strong company, a good company, and then they had a huge event last year that destroyed the stock price of this company. Right after, like on our podcast, we said this was a solid company, and then that week they had a huge event that destroyed the stock. I'm talking about CrowdStrike.
Okay.
Ever since then, CrowdStrike has gone back and has risen above where it was when Brandon and I both said it was a good company, a solid company, and before the outage that happened. They're saying CrowdStrike's going to continue moving higher. Let's see on this earnings call if it's one to continue to say is a buy on Tuesday. They're having their call.
I honestly like with another one that I thought you were going to go with there, and because I don't know when their earnings report is,
Yeah.
but I think it was at the beginning of last year where I called United Health to buy,
No.
and oh my
No.
God, tragedy.
Yeah, tragedy, awful
Yeah.
tragedy, but yes. No, CrowdStrike on Tuesday. So Thursday, we got Broadcom. This is a big AI driver. They're huge in the AI field. They're a big chip processing plant company. Broadcom's one I'm going to be looking at the earnings call, seeing their numbers. Not really one I'm looking to buy or sell, but one I want to see what they have to say about chips and AI. Kind of give you a hint in the video as well. Also on Thursday, just because I'm curious, Lululemon on the retail sector. I guess they're higher end athlete leisure sector. I don't know how you would classify them. They're coming in after the bell. They had some trouble last year recently. I want to see how they're doing now. Gives you a better look into that athleisure section of the company of the US. So that's one I'm looking at there. So those are my earnings. Not a whole lot of earnings this week. Very, very empty on earnings.
I
But
told Tristan to buy Lululemon about 10 years ago. I wonder if he did and if he still owns it.
hey, if he did and he held it and he bought it 10 years ago, he's doing very well right now. So
Yeah.
that's good there. Big news for Chinchilla Pickin'. Next week, we are going to be recording on YouTube. So you will be starting to see videos of us. We're going to have to start, shaving, cleaning, having showers, getting nice and clean for you guys now instead of just our voices. You get to see our faces and how we react to each other.
So this week, I'm actually going to post the video on YouTube, but it's
Oh,
not going
you're
to be live.
recording now?
So it's not going to be live. Yeah, actually, every one of our shows has recorded videos to it automatically. So I've got them all on my hard drive here somewhere. But this one is going to go on YouTube. Next week, we're going to start live.
He didn't tell me that, guys. So you're going to see my faces I made not knowing I was being recorded.
I
It's fine,
texted
though.
you. I
No,
texted
it's
you.
fine. It's fine. It's fine.
Ready.
Whatever. Whatever. People get to see the real me and the faces I make to Brandon because you know what? He's just making comments, right? There you go.
Hey,
Video. We're gonna do
sweet.
live starting next week, according to Brandon. We'll see if our IT team can handle this. Our IT team has a new ponytail, so hopefully the ponytail works.
It's the
And then coming in July, I have bigger news for Chinchilla Pickin'. Big, big, big news. Hopefully this will be, and I'll announce it in July. I'm not gonna tell you what it is before the surprise announcement. I'm gonna give it's like a 6 week build in the expectation, and hopefully in July we will be the announcement for it. So something huge for Chinchilla Picking coming in July.
I
We're
don't
doing
even know
live
what it
video
is.
next week. July, huge announcement coming then. And then maybe we'll start doing live events and we are going to begin working on a book. I know we've talked about this for a little bit, but we're going to start working on a book together and have that out there as well for you listeners. So lots of things coming your way. Chinchilla Pickens looking to grow. We've been doing this podcast now for a few years. It's time to grow it. None of it, I mean, it's still free. We're still helping people for free. I still mentor people for free. We do everything for free. Nothing, no purchasing. There's no Discord's free. Everything's free. There's no subscription needed. None of that needed.
Yeah.
We're just trying to help people. Everything is going to be fun stuff, fun
I,
announcements.
I have a very important question.
Yes,
Is it Maybelline or am I born with it?
definitely Maybelline. All right. Final thought,
You know what?
Brandon.
I don't even know what the announcement for July
You
is.
don't. Yes, you
I
don't
have
know what
no
it is.
idea.
Yes,
No.
and I'm not going to tell you because loose slips sink ships.
I'm excited.
Final
Unless
thoughts,
it's
Brandon.
more
Final
responsible.
thoughts.
I'm getting it. This is my final thought. I'm excited unless it's more responsibility for me.
No, no, no.
Listen, buy Nvidia and shut up.
There you go. I believe right now is for my final thought. I believe right now, cooler now is the best time to buy it because the next earnings report will be profitable. This company's now been around for about 4 years now. 4-year-old company. You expect around the fifth year mark to start becoming profitable. They're going to report profit and they're going to stay profitable. Is how I look at it going forward. Now is the time to buy it before the next earnings is what I'm believe is going to happen. I do have some microeconomic fundamentals to back this, but that's not 100% of my information. Some of it is just me being guessing.
Okay.
And so majority of it is fundamental, but not all of it. So I'm just going to be clear and transparent with our listeners. So there you go. That's all I got. So as always, we hope we have been entertaining, educational, and uplifting because we want everyone to make money. Have a good night.
Have a good night.